All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Your host, Nancy Russo, has a bad cough when she talks, so she's asked me to step in and do the introduction today. My name is Deb Doolin. I'm the owner and creative director of Doolin Design. I am a branding studio based now in the Pacific Northwest. Since you are all members of the Creatives Roundtable, you know what we are and what we are about and where you can find us. Our next event is Lead Gen for Creatives with Melinda Livesey on December 5th. And the January through June 2020 events will be on the CR events page within the next month. Now I'm happy to welcome Krista Rae. Nancy first discovered Krista when she stumbled upon her podcast, Get Back to Design. Since then, she has enjoyed her banter with her podcast partner, Corey. And she has participated in both of their online business summits, as I know a few of you did as well. I did too. It was great. I enjoyed it. Everyone, please mute yourself, and I will turn this over to Krista.
Hey everybody, I'm pumped to be here, and it's nice to see so many friendly faces. But when I'm talking, I'll have my slides over here and you guys way over here, so I won't be able to see anything, but I'll try to check the chat box every once in a while if you guys have any questions, and this will be fun. We're going to do kind of like a workshop style thing, so we'll stop for a couple minutes here and there, and I'll give you guys some exercises to complete. But I wanted to start by talking about why this simplifying topic is so important to me. Like was just mentioned, I actually have two podcasts, one that I co-host, one that I host. I have a business doing WordPress development. I run an annual summit. I have another business teaching online business owners how to plan and launch summits. I have a toddler. I work part-time hours, a lot of stuff going on, and that's why simplifying is so important to me, because otherwise it just wouldn't happen, but it would also be a disaster. But it wasn't always this way. Back in 2017, I found myself at a point where I was so overwhelmed. I didn't have any kids at that time, so I was working. I'd get up at 5 o'clock, go straight to my desk, and work till 9 at night. And I was fine with it. I didn't have anything else to do, right? So that was fine. But in, May 2017, I found out that my little girl was on the way. And that was when I was like, this isn't gonna work anymore. I can't be working, 15-hour days or whatever, and be a good mom. And I always wanted to work part-time hours and all that kind of stuff. And along with that, I like being able to chase new ideas, as you probably gather from the 5,000 things I have going on. I like getting this idea I'm excited about and having the freedom to go pursue that idea. Maybe for you, you want to work less or spend more time with your family or doing other things you enjoy. And that's why I think the simplifying topic is so important and so powerful. So I want to briefly touch on what the title of this presentation actually is, but then we're going to dive into that workshop kind of style thing that I mentioned and actually make progress on it today, rather than you just listening to me talk for a half hour. So let me share my screen here, if I can remember how to do that. Share. Okay, can you guys see my slides? Okay, awesome. So I want you guys to think back to when the last time was that you felt stressed in your business. Maybe it was before this presentation started, or maybe it was a month ago, or maybe it was longer than that. If so, good work. But I want you to think back to that time and what was causing that. You can put it in the chat if you want to, otherwise just kind of reflect on what were the things that were leading you to feel that way, to feeling stressed. And I have a couple guesses. I'm guessing it was that you either had too much to do and not enough time to do it. Maybe you weren't making as much money as you wanted to or even needed to, and that's always stressful. Maybe you were doing some tasks outside of your zone of genius, and that's always stressful because we start our businesses to focus on things we love. So it's always frustrating and stressful to be spending a whole bunch of time doing other things. So I'm guessing it's one of those three things, and there is one way that we can solve all three of those problems. It's not by adding more to your plate or finding this new guru with this awesome strategy that's going to solve all your problems. Actually, the answer to all three of these issues is taking things off of your plate. And if you're newer to the idea of simplifying things, that might be hard to make sense of right now. So I want to go through a quick example. Back in early 2017, like I was saying, I was doing it all. If there was someone out there saying I should do something to grow my business, I did it. I was offering services. I had digital products, a theme shop, a podcast. I was publishing 10 posts per day on Twitter, 30 or more posts per day on Pinterest. I was active on my Facebook group, on my Facebook page, and other people's Facebook groups, like everything. I was doing everything. And it was absolutely crazy. And that's why I was working all kinds of hours, 7 days a week. But like I said, I found out that I had a little girl on the way, and it was like total stop sign, just like I put on this slide. It was like, hold up, I can't do all of this if I want to be a good mom and spend the time I want to with my daughter. So I did the exercise that we're going to walk through today. So I looked at everything I was doing and got really real with myself about what was actually bringing the majority of my income. And for me, that was coffee chats. So getting on and talking to people one-on-one and making those connections, is offering my services, focusing attention in my own Facebook group, and being active on Instagram. And then I looked at the things that were taking a whole bunch of my time, or my assistant's time, therefore my money. And those things ended up being active on my Facebook page, being active on Twitter, Pinterest, and publishing those weekly YouTube videos. And oddly enough, when I looked at those things that were taking a ton of my time and I didn't like doing, and reviewed my sales over the past 6 months, I could not attribute a single sale to any of those things, which is pretty ridiculous. So after that, even though it was really scary for me, I stopped doing those things. I stopped posting on Twitter. If you look at my Twitter feed, the last post was probably like one to advertise my summit back in April. The one before that was probably the summit in 2018. I completely stopped posting on Twitter, stopped posting on my Facebook page, minus just pushing my blog posts out. I went from weekly YouTube videos to bi-weekly blog posts, and now I'm down to monthly blog posts. There are some other things in there that I stopped doing and put less focus on, like selling products and stuff like that, which led to no more webinars, no more challenges, which was nice. But during that time, I did the math and actually figured out that stopping those things was saving me about 3 to 5 full days of work per month of my own time, and more than $10,000 a year that I was spending paying other people to help me on things that weren't making me money. And it's like, now it's a facepalm moment. But when I was in that place, I was just like, I got to keep doing all these things. I need to grow my business. These things are all the answer. And they weren't. And clearing up that space allowed me to do so much. It gave me time to focus on things that were making me money, which for me was Instagram and connecting with people one-on-one, like I said before. It also gave me the time that I needed to run my first summit, which tripled my email list, quadrupled my normal monthly income, and left my services booked out for 6 months in advance. One thing did way more than all these other things that were taking up all of my time. And there's no way I could have done it if I was still doing everything else I was doing. Literally impossible, unless I just stopped sleeping. But once that summit was over, I was really able to start working even less since I wasn't planning a summit anymore. I was able to spend more time with my daughter. I went from working those 12 to 14-hour days to now I'm down to about 6 hours per day, depending on how long nap time goes. And I got rid of all kinds of things that I did not need to be doing. With that being said, though, this is a process. It was tough. I can speak to it now and smile while I'm saying it, but it was terrifying back then. But I want you to know that, like, you can do it too. If you have found yourself in a place where, you know, maybe it's not to the extreme that I was at, I hope it's not, but if you find yourself working longer hours than you want, or just feeling rushed all day while you're working, we can get your schedule and everything figured out like that. So I'm hoping just with this one example I gave, you can see that I had way less on my plate, meaning my attention was split in fewer directions. That's where the saved sanity came in. And then we have all that saved money. And the $10,000 I mentioned was from that first year. And it was all because I took those steps to simplify. And that's what we're going to do for you today. So we are going to dive into tracking your time, using your time tracker, which I'll give you to make decisions, creating a schedule that works for you, and simplifying your repeatable tasks. So not enough time. Okay, I just saw that chat box, but yeah, that's definitely an issue. So I have a time tracker to give you guys. You don't need to use this right now. Oh, I can't even click in my notes. Let's see here. Let's exit out of sharing because I want to get you this. Let me see if I have it in another version of my notes. Okay, one sec. Let's unshare. Now I've got it. So I have this time tracker for you in a Google spreadsheet. You don't necessarily need to use it today. It might be helpful as we're going through these exercises. But if we get to the end today and you feel like you need to do more, that's when this time tracker will come in handy. So feel free to make a copy of that for yourself, either use it as we're going through the exercises here or save it for later. So let me explain this time tracking thing. It's so easy to go from day to day without paying any attention to what we're doing. It's like we're robots, kind of. And the problem is, when we're like that, is we spend so much time on things that actually don't matter. And I still catch myself doing that. And I know that this time tracking thing, it's not something that anyone's going like, yeah, I love tracking my time. It's not a fun thing to do, but it is temporary and it is worth fighting through, even for 1 week, to improve things for a lot longer than that. So for 1 week, if we go through these steps that we're about to go through today and you feel like you can do more, I want you to track your time for 1 week and then repeat these exercises. Ideally, I would have had everyone do it before today so we could go through it all, but instead we're just going to do the best we can with today's presentations, and you can revisit these exercises later. So we're going to get started with our first exercise. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes, and I want you to brainstorm all of the tasks you complete on a regular basis. So start by kind of walking yourself through a typical day, maybe what you have been working on today and what you'll work on after this call, and then kind of think of things that you work on in other days. I want you to make a list of those, and you can either do that in our time tracker, or if you just want to grab, open a Google Doc or make a list on paper notes, go ahead and do that now. So start brainstorming all the things you do on a regular basis, and I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes. All right, did that feel like even close to long enough for you to get a start? Getting some kinds of yeses. Okay, we'll call it good. You can always kind of go back through this later. Let me know what some of the things are that you guys came up with. I'm curious to know. I wish I could have this chat box up while I was talking. But now we're going to take that and go on to the rest of the exercises I have for you. And I tell you, some of this won't be easy, but I'll be with you along the way. I'll give you guys some examples, and we'll take it one step at a time here. So we're going to move into simplifying. And let's start by talking about why we should simplify. As your business grows, you tend to add more to your plate. So maybe for you, it's more client projects or more marketing methods that you just have to try. More, in my case, everything. But you continue to just add and add and add. And I'm curious when the last time was that you realized you needed to stop doing something. And I feel like we very rarely come to that realization because we're so busy doing, we don't take the time to sit and think, okay, are each of these things I'm doing actually worth my time, money, whatever it is for you? And because of that, we need to be really intentional about what we're doing and make conscious decisions about it. So this is going to bring us right to our next workshop session, because I want you to get started with these things right away. We're going to take some time to go through everything that you just wrote down in the future in your time tracker, if you choose to go ahead and track your time, and find some things that you can stop doing. And I'll give some examples before we start, but I want to mention that stopping can look like a few different things. It can mean you outsource, it can mean you automate, It can mean you 100% truly stop. It can mean you just cut back on things. Right now, we're just going to focus on like truly stopping, like I did with YouTube, not happening anymore. Things that you can just cross out off your list because they're not benefiting you in any way. So that's what I want you to do right now. Go through the tasks you just wrote down and cross off, circle, whatever, the things that actually what I want you to start out with is things you can't get rid of. So you kind of can have those off of your mind. Like for example, if you're not in a place where you can hire somebody for, I don't know, I feel like bookkeepers are really expensive. Maybe you can't afford to hire a bookkeeper. Okay, we can't get rid of that. We're gonna circle that just to get those things off of our plate so we have an easier time filtering through for the next exercise, which I already gave you a spoiler alert for. So let's start there. I'm gonna give you another 2 minutes. We probably don't need a full 2 minutes. We'll just go with it. 2 minutes to kind of identify the things that you cannot get rid of. All right, did that feel like enough time? Yeah, okay, cool. So I already spoiled what the next step is, but now we're gonna move on and talk about things that we can get rid of. And I wanted you to do that first step so you can just like get them off of your mind, but this is gonna be the harder part. And you're going to feel some resistance with this, but if you really want things to change, you want more time, you want to focus on tasks you like or have more time for your family, whatever, I need you to at least humor me and do this exercise. And then you can decide from there if you're actually going to follow through with it. But we're going to look at a couple different things. Most importantly, we're going to look at what isn't giving you a return that you're currently doing. So look through everything you wrote down and individually think, am I getting a return from this thing? Second, I want you to kind of look at things that you really just dislike doing. If it's like, I'm getting a little bit of return on this, but I really hate it, that's something else we want to look at here. But then we're going to see where those two pieces overlap. If there's something you don't like that's not giving you a return, that's going to be a nice and easy decision for us to make. So we're going to go through all that list one at a time. If you're not getting a return, it's wasting your time. And the examples I have from when I did this, I got rid of those weekly YouTube videos, which was really terrifying because I thought that was like the secret to me, I don't know, succeeding, whatever that meant at the time. Promoting on Twitter, posting in my Facebook group, publishing weekly blog posts and separate newsletters, having my theme shop, all kinds of things. Those are all what I got rid of. I totally closed that theme shop business. So I want you to do the same thing. Is each task worth the negative energy it's bringing up? Compare that to the return you're getting. And if you're not getting a return, don't even consider outsourcing or automating because even that time isn't worth it for you. So I'm going to give you like 5 minutes. I'll keep an eye on how you guys are doing. If 5 minutes feels like too much, we'll stop early. But go through and mark off things that you feel like you're going to eliminate. If you feel stuck and you're not sure on something, put it in the chat and we can all kind of work together to try to decide if it's a good idea to get rid of or not. Do you guys want a couple more minutes? Are you good? Okay, everyone looks kind of done. I love what Nancy brought up in the chat here, and she was saying that she feels she's not seeing any return from Instagram, but she feels like she has to be there because that's where designers are supposed to be, because it's such a visual platform, right? And I like those are the hard decisions. That's where it comes in, when there are so many people saying like this is the secret to you being successful, is being in this one place. That's what makes these decisions tough. But I also love that Nancy can say, I know I get clients from LinkedIn and I know I can get them through direct marketing. Well, what if you spent that time that you were spending on Instagram on those things instead? And you can just kind of see how one less thing gives you so much more space to focus on the things that are making a difference in your business. So I'm curious what kinds of things you guys came up with that you've been doing that you can stop doing. If you feel up to it, let me know in the chat, but I won't like sit and put you on the spot like a professor or something. So that's what my next slide was. Let me know what you are eliminating to make space for better things. And I know this exercise might have been hard, and maybe you like feel like you didn't even find anything because it is so hard. But if you did find some things, like just give yourself a second to think about that extra space you've already created for yourself by realizing you can stop doing something. And that just feels good. Like after you get over the scary part, it just feels good. And even if it's just one or two things, like those one or two things matter. But the goal here is to not just go and fill that all right back up, unless it's like, I've been waiting for the time to do this certain thing and now I have space for it. Okay, I'll give you that. But I don't want you to go looking for other strategies on purpose to fill this extra time with. So let that feel good, and we are going to move forward and try to make it even better. And that is going to be through talking about outsourcing and automating. I do want to say it's okay if you're not ready to outsource or it's just something you don't want to do. Keep in mind, though, if you feel like you're not ready for it, that you can start on packages with VAs as little as like 5 hours a month. That's what I did with my very first VA. I had been in business for not even 6 months. Oh no, it was 6 months. I hired someone for 5 hours a month, and it was crazy how big of a difference those 5 hours made for me. So, and if you have tried outsourcing in the past and feel like you don't have enough to outsource or it wasn't worth it or whatever, I'm hoping this exercise will help with that. But let's start with talking about the automate portion. And when it comes to automating, you don't have to completely automate like a full process for it to count. You can automate things partially, like a part of your onboarding process can be triggered after like a previous step someone took. Like maybe they fill out a form on your website and you automatically send them a welcome packet, but then you still go in and review the form before you send them any other information. Or it might be complete automation. So for example, maybe you automatically have, like, I know there's a program called repurpose.io. Maybe you automatically have Repurpose take a Facebook Live you did and publish it to your YouTube channel. That's complete automation. That could save a lot of time if that's something you do manually. So if you think there's something you should be automated, or no, if you think there's something you should be able to automate, but you're not sure how to do it, when we go through this process, let us know in the chat and maybe we can all kind of share automation tips back and forth. Now let's talk about outsourcing. And these are going to be things that don't require your personal touch, which is actually most things. And it's like, I feel like outsourcing is a process to just accepting one task at a time that you're not the one that absolutely has to do that. And it took me like a couple years to really get at a place where now I'm like, I don't care, you guys do it. Like, I don't want to worry about it. But it is a process. So if you're not outsourcing right now, though, I don't want you to go super deep on this. And if you're truly not willing or able to outsource right now, you can just like skip it and make yourself a wish list or just not worry about it at all. But some things that I went through and decided to outsource or automate were writing content. So I haven't written my own blog posts in probably been a year now. And there was a time in the past where I outsourced them as well. But I outline my blog posts. My VA writes my posts for me and I go through and review them really quickly. I don't write my Instagram captions. I have my VA go in and take my blog posts, break them into Instagram captions for me. I outsource all of my social media scheduling. I outsource my inbox management. Maybe for you, if you're a designer, it's preparing and sending like final logo files. There's all kinds of things you can do, but it takes a little brain work to figure out what those are and kind of accept the fact that you're not the one that has to be doing it. So I want you to take a couple minutes. You guys have been going pretty fast, so maybe we'll do 2 minutes instead of 3 to brainstorm what kinds of things you can outsource or automate. And as you go, feel free to pop some stuff in the chat if you feel like it. All right, all set? Sounds good. Okay, if you feel like it, let us know what you decided to outsource or automate. And again, I want you to stop and think about the space you just created for yourself. Now, I know that with outsourcing and automating comes work up front. You need to set up the automation or find the VA and write your process and train them and make sure they know what they're doing. But after that, it feels really, really great. Jennifer, I'd love to have someone take a finished project and add it to my portfolio. Oh yes, I just started doing that last month, and it's incredible. We set up an Asana template where I fill in some like specific information that my VA will then turn into a caption for my portfolio page. I give her a link to the website. She goes through and takes screenshots to use. She assigns other tasks for other team members to create graphics and send it, post it on social media. Highly recommend that one. Kara, invoicing. Spend nearly 40 hours a year doing it. Oh my goodness. That hurts a little bit for sure. Let us know if you want some suggestions on that. Nancy, writing emails and blog posts. It's crazy how long that kind of stuff can take. Copy Jen and put it on the task list. Yes, love it. Outsourcing portfolio projects is highly recommended. Great. So I hope that these things kind of help a little bit. So now that your schedule is simplified, or at least on its way to being simplified, I want to move on to talking about your schedule and like your work structure. Now, if you're sitting here and like I said before, you feel like you can do more, or you feel like you weren't even able to do that much, I really encourage you to take that time tracker and throughout maybe all of next week, track your time. And I know it's painful, but then you'll be able to really sit down at the end of the week and identify tasks that you've been spending maybe way more time on than you thought you were. And that can be a really beneficial thing to do. And then you can go through these exercises again in the replay to make good progress. So let's move on to your schedule and structure. And I feel like this is tough because a lot of us start our own businesses because we want freedom, but then we end up having too much freedom and maybe needing a little bit of structure. So I'm curious if you guys sometimes struggle to focus on the right tasks. I'm saying in air quotes. And maybe that means like if you check your email and see a client emergency, again, in really big air quotes, and you like drop everything you plan to do that day for your own business and handle that instead. Or maybe you like know you need to do some marketing, but you decide to scroll Facebook. I'm still guilty of that. Like, oh, I do not want to write this template that I make a whole bunch of templates for people running summits for that business, and I really hate writing the templates. So I'll be like, oh, I have this task. I'm going to go scroll Facebook for 20 minutes instead because that's really helpful. So if you struggle on focusing on the right tasks, that's what this exercise coming up is for. If you don't struggle with that, if you feel like your structure each day is great, you stay on task like you need to, you can totally skip this. But this will be helpful for anyone who maybe needs a little bit of structure. And this one isn't going to be quite as difficult. So we'll do nice and short working sessions, but I want you to start by looking at the list of tasks that you're keeping, the ones you're not getting rid of, and start grouping them into categories. And to help you out, here are the main categories I have / used to have. So I had categories related to client work, marketing, content creation, learning, and what I call CEO time, which is more like admin stuff or big picture stuff for the business, stuff like that. And then also consider things you say you want to make time for, but you currently can't. So maybe right now you don't set aside enough time for learning, which, I mean, you're here, so props. But maybe you want more. Add that as a separate category in here as well. So I'm going to give you 2-ish minutes. I'll keep an eye on how you guys are doing to create your task categories. Is that enough time? Okay, cool. So again, if you feel like it, let us know what categories you came up with. Now we're going to take those categories and put them into blocks on your calendar. So I want you to look at those tasks you brainstormed earlier and think about what you want your days and weeks to look like. And based on what your dream week looks like, I want you to take those categories and put them into scheduled blocks on your calendar. And there's a couple ways you can do this. First is with time blocking, which I'm sure you've all heard of. And there are a few ways you can do it though. You can do daily time blocks, which I'll show you an example for in a second. I did this for over a year. I had daily time blocks and the exact ones I'm about to show you. You could do daily themes. So maybe instead of having a task, for a couple hours on different days, you just block a whole day for that category. Maybe you have weekly themes, which is what I do right now, which I'll show you an example of that as well. Or I even know some people who do monthly themes. One of my friends has 1 week where she's focused on marketing, 1 week where she's focused on creating. She runs a styled stock membership, creating all of her content for that. And then I don't remember what her other month is, but you get the idea. There are all kinds of ways you can do it based on what works best for you. This is what my time blocks looked like before I switched to the weekly themes I'll show you. On every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, I focused on my retainer client work. During my big work block for the day, 3-hour block every day, I focused on my custom development work. Had 2 marketing blocks per week, and then I tried to do some CEO time, work on my business every afternoon. That didn't always happen. Sometimes my custom work had to take over that time, but this is what I wanted it to look like. And those things are still a habit now that I have switched to weekly themes, which I'll show you. And this is actually a Google Calendar. So in Google Calendar, you can go through, create different tasks, set them as recurring, and then assign a color to them, and it makes a nice little schedule like this that shows up on your calendar. Now here's kind of an example of what my weekly themes look like now. So now that I run a couple businesses and have bigger things to focus on for each of them, and my daily schedule is kind of ingrained in my head, I've switched to weekly themes. So usually this is my January schedule when I'm not working on any client work, but usually I have 1 week where I focus on the Summer Host Vault, which is my membership for that business, 1 week where I focus on batching all my podcast episodes, and then 2 weeks actually where I focus on my custom development work. So those are my big focuses for that week. So that's what I fit in my big blocks of time for the day. I still do my retainer work every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning. I do marketing, usually Tuesday, Thursday mornings, sometimes in the afternoon, depending on how I'm feeling. But since I have these bigger things I need to focus on, I feel like I can get so much more done when I'm focusing on them for a week than trying to, I'm going to do an hour of development work, switch to an hour of working on content for my membership. Oh, I got to record a podcast episode. I'm so much more efficient when I can just focus on things for a full week. So maybe that's what it looks like for you. But we'll take a few minutes, around 5, but again, I'll keep an eye on you guys to create your schedule. If you want to go ahead and set it up in Google Calendar right now, go ahead and do that. That's an awesome thing to do. Or if you just kind of want to make notes of how you're going to do that and set it up in Google Calendar later, go ahead and do that as well. And I'll switch back to my calendar view here in case it's helpful for you to see. that enough time? Yeah, can always finish later, but I know this is already going a little longer than it's supposed to. So let's power ahead here. I'd love to know what kind of schedule you went with. If you went for daily themes, weekly time blocks, if maybe schedules aren't your thing, I'm in full support of that as well. But if you did outline a schedule for yourself, I really want you to try to stick with it over the next couple of weeks. And it will be hard at first. This is a habit you will have to build. And like, don't be hard on yourself about it. If you don't feel like switching to another category in the middle of a day, don't. Just go with what feels good and adjust as you need to. Maybe you put content creation at the end of your day and you get that far and you're like just too like just done with life, I guess, to go and write content, which is what happened to me. Update your schedule, move it to the beginning of the day instead. But I hope you're excited about these schedules. Give them a try. If you've been having trouble staying on task over time, I do think this will start to help. Now, we don't have time to go into it, and luckily I knew that when I was making these slides. So kind of a bonus step is for you to create systems. So use that time tracker after, in the following week to see what tasks you complete on a regular basis that just take you a lot of time, or that you want to outsource in the future, or you're having to like figure out every time you do it. For me, that was onboarding new clients. I didn't have that written out for the first 3 years I think I was doing development work. And every time I would get an inquiry, I'd like be sitting there figuring out the steps as I go. And it's not like I was sitting there stuck, but I'd get through part of the process and be like, oh wait, I forgot, I got to go back and do this. So if you're finding yourself doing that with certain things, this is where systems come in. So next time you do that thing, either write out the steps as you go or just record a video of yourself doing it. I have the Loom extension on Chrome. I just hit record myself doing something, and then I have one of my VAs go through, take that video and write it out into a step-by-step process for me. That way, if I want one of them to do it next time, all I have to do is send them a link to that process. And that's like the easiest way to get some stuff off of your plate. So today we talked about identifying tasks that aren't giving a return and getting rid of those things, creating a schedule, and then like the quickest systems overview you've ever heard in your life. As for action steps, I would love for you to track your time over the next week and then revisit these exercises we went through of deciding what to eliminate. Pull in help if you need it. If you feel like you're not being hard enough on yourself with this, pull in some friends, because it's way easier to tell someone else to stop doing something in their business than it is to be ourselves and stopping something in our business. That didn't even make sense. But you know what I'm saying. Add your schedule to your calendar if you didn't do that yet, and then stick with it for at least a couple weeks and see how it feels. Let yourself move things around and make adjustments as you need to. But I'd love to open it up for some questions if you have them, if there's something you're stuck on, something you're not sure if you should get rid of. I think we all could do some brainstorming if it would be helpful for anyone, but I'll stop sharing, I think. Feel free to ask away. I hate that I couldn't see you guys during this because I couldn't see if you guys were like taking a nap or if you liked it. So, oh well, now I know for next time to have my setup different. No questions?
It's not directly related, but I saw one of your things you listed about what VAs were helping you with, which was inbox management. So I'm curious how that works.
Yeah, so I have this real nerdy document written out, and basically I have it written out and I tell them what to do with different kinds of emails. Let me see if I can find it. Email, general inbox management. So, oh man, I'll just share this with you so you can see exactly what I have written out for them. So basically I have different kinds of emails. I give them different steps to take with each thing. So I have my newsletters all get filtered into a newsletter folder. So I have a filter set up in Gmail that says if it has the word unsubscribe in it, put it in this folder. They go to that folder. If there's newsletters from actual people, they keep them in there, and then I can decide if I want to like unsubscribe or whatnot. Otherwise, they delete things. And I kind of have that for everything. If there is a lead capture filled in, I have them do something. If it's like an important notification, I have them leave it. I have them filter my receipts into different folders. Have them schedule things for features. If someone emails me like about a podcast episode going live or something like that, tell them exactly what to delete. And kind of over time, as things come up, they we kind of go back and forth like in Slack and like, what should I do with this? And I can say, okay, do this. And they're supposed to add it to here. I don't know if they usually do, but that's kind of what I do. Tell them what to do with different categories of emails. And I do have to go in then and like respond to people personally and stuff like that. But it's a whole lot better to go into an inbox of like 3 emails instead of 50. Anything else?
This is actually the kind of thing that we can do in our our group calls, where we could help each other decide what to eliminate.
Yes.
Just like, I pick on your websites, we can do this too.
I love that.
This was very helpful for me.
Oh, good.
It really was.
Awesome. Yeah, I love this stuff. Like, simplifying is my jam.
And what's your other podcast? I know you have the Get Back to Design.
Yeah, it's called Summit Host Hangout. So it's all about planning, launching.
Oh, okay.
Summit. It's nothing related to simplifying, but I just love talking about it.
Okay. I want you all to hear my coughing, of course. Does anyone else have anything else to say? All right, so let's wrap it up early then. Thank you so much, Krista.
Thank you. Lots to think about, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
Really good. Okay, take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.